Hi everyone and welcome to Triple M Adventures with Bill. Before we get started, please consider subscribing to my channel and possibly becoming a patron. It will help me produce more content in the future. This video, it was when I was 11 years old when I first saw an RC plane being flown. I've mentioned this before on my YouTube channel, and I saw two chaps flying. One was flying a Hurricane and one was flying a Spitfire. I know one was definitely a Spitfire, and I watched it and I couldn't believe it, the things they were doing with these aeroplanes. And from that day on, I've always wanted a Spitfire, and I've never had one until today. It's not quite as impressive as I would like to have been. There it goes. I've got one. Here it goes. I haven't test flown it yet. I've built it. I'm going to review this little aeroplane. It's very, very light, and it was easy to build, but we're going to go out and fly it when the weather permits, and I'll report back on in this same video of how it flew. Now, assembling this Minimum RC aeroplane wasn't that difficult. You have to be sort of semi-skilled because there is one bit you need to do, and that is beveling the control surfaces so that they can go, obviously, go up and down. You have to bevel the bottom. Now, that's not the easiest thing to do, but if you just take your time when you're doing this, you should be okay. And you just need to take off little bit by little bit until you get the bevels right. Other than that, it's very simple to put together. The only thing is I bought some glue, which, of course, because as being a seasoned RC modeler, I tested on a piece of the material to make sure that it didn't dissolve it. So I took tore a piece off of the foam paper covered board. I glued it together and it was fine, worked fine. Then I decided now I'm going to glue the fuselage together. And when I did, a few minutes later, it started to dissolve it. Luckily, it didn't dissolve it completely away. I don't think you'll probably even see where it did dissolve it. But it didn't ruin the aeroplane. And in the end, what I did was use cyano, super glue. I used cyanoacrylate to do it. And there, you obviously got to be careful with positioning, but it worked nicely. But the other glue I used, no, even though I tested it, I couldn't believe that it did it to the aeroplane. The next thing are the linkages. Now, the linkages are just held together with heat shrink tubing. Now, the heat shrink tubing they supplied, I thought it was a little bit fiddly to get in and get to grip, because I don't think it's designed to actually heat up to hold on, to grip. And of course, they're very light surfaces. So I'm not going to put much pressure on the linkages, as you can see the linkage there. So what I did, I used some other heat shrink that I have in my workshop to do this instead, which worked fine, which was a lot bigger, but then I actually heat shrinked it down. You have to buy, it doesn't come with the receiver. I had to buy a receiver, and I'll put a link in the description below to this receiver. It's an all-in-one. It's very, very tiny, and it's got a built-in ESC for the brushed motor. But one thing, when I soldered it, I assumed that red would be the positive and the blue one would be the negative. But when I soldered it to the receiver, which is the ESC in one, so it's like an all-in-one, the motor went the wrong way round. So you must be careful of that. I obviously checked that, and then I desoldered and changed that. I'm using these 350 milliamp hour batteries that I've already got. So I had to wire up a plug to be able to connect it, but because I didn't have a connector, there was no lead on the power lead on the receiver. So I made one up for it. But when I put the battery on, the 350 milliamp hour battery, it actually is not too bad. It's a centimetre over to balance. And it's going to be a little bit nose heavy, but I'm quite happy to test it like that. I need to now just adjust the linkages to get the correct throws on the control surfaces. And that's really it. It looks quite fun. It'd be interesting to fly it. It's got quite a lot of thrust. I've already spooled up the motor, and it's got a fair bit of go in it. So what I'll do first is, once I've set, you can see my ailerons are up too high. Once I've set those, I will then do a couple of glide tests, and then I'll fly it for you. Difficult for me to record it, when I might get a friend to come and do that for me. and then I will record the rest of the video, the summary of this video, once I've actually test flown it. Okay, I'm out in the field. Let's give this little plane a go. Geez, the grass is so long here. And there's no slight breeze. So let's have a look. There we go. Just check everything. Have a look. Yep, that's correct. Okay.
Disarm motors.
That wasn't very good, was it?
Disarm motors.
Oh dear. It wasn't very good, was it? So let's give it another go. RC pilots never give up.
Disarm motors.
Now that's exactly the attitude you need when you're an RC pilot, because the planes crash and your quads crash all the time. But no, never give up. Let's give it another go.
Disarm motors.
It's not responding to any inputs. I tried to fly my childhood dream at least another 2 more times with absolutely no results. So by now I'm thinking I must be a really bad RC pilot for this to keep happening. But then my spotter, Steve, came to help me. Okay, I've come across a problem with the plane. You see I've got ailerons working and I've got elevator and rudder, but when I put the motor on, the rudder's not working and the ailerons are not working. You see, nothing's working.
Disarm motors.
Okay, that's a bit strange. I'm going to go and check this out, but that must be the receiver. So there we go. There was my problem. When I normally test a plane, every time it's a fixed wing, before I take it up, I test my control surfaces are all working. It's just a force of habit and I do it. But I've never actually run it, put the throttle up and then test the control surface, which is maybe what I should do. And there I persevered. I was determined to get my first Spitfire into the air, but it didn't happen. Now it's a little bit of time in the future now, and I contacted the manufacturer of that receiver stroke ESC, and they never responded. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to go to Banggood and contact them. Now they say they want to see a video of what it's doing. So I'm going to produce the video for the review of this little aeroplane and then forward it to them so they can have a look and see what's wrong with the receiver. But just a summary of the little aeroplane. You can see how tough this little thing is. I mean, it's because it's obviously so light, but it really is tough. I'm so looking forward to getting a replacement receiver stroke ESC so that I can fly it. Would I recommend it? I bought it with my own money and I would. It's very flimsy, but you could keep it in the car with your small transmitter and then fly anywhere. It uses tiny batteries, which are inexpensive, and I'm sure it flies quite well. It managed to get quite a bit into the air there before it dived into the ground. And I must say, I was completely confused about what was going on there. But anyway, I got to the bottom of it. I just wanted to pause there. At this moment in time, I'm not going to recommend the receiver stroke ESC I use because of the problems I have with it. The model number is MARX42-A. And I wouldn't, at this point, I won't recommend it. Once I get another one, a replacement, if I do get given a replacement, I will then do a video on that receiver stroke ESC and let you know what I thought, but I'm not recommending it at this point. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you've got any comments or questions, please leave them in the comment section below because I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Happy flying. Bye for now.